Hi everyone, Melanie here from Balloon Artworks in Derbyshire in the UK. So we're making a baby shark themed second birthday balloon bouquet and I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. Can't wait to show you how to make it. I'm using the Grabo 40-inch number balloon in pastel blue. I always start by inflating my balloons with air. So this is the first step, because if there is a problem with the balloon, I want to know about it before I go too far into the display. So by the time I've air inflated all the ball balloons and I've made the base, I will know if there's a problem on any of the ball balloons. What I would say is this seems rather poor, seems rather messy, doesn't it? And that valve is pretty much sealed up. You can use a straw sometimes to open up a valve, but sometimes the valve is just so sealed across here that even the straw doesn't work. And so in those instances I have this metal tool. It's not sharp at all, it is slightly coned at the end. This is for model making, so if you have someone in your family who makes metal models, you might want to raid their toolkit. I think this is called a coning tool. And I just slip it in and I use it to feel for where I can get in. This is really bad. And this is why I don't use Grabos, because I'm yet to have a good experience with Grabos, I have to say. I'm not a fan of them at all, and I only buy them really when, yeah, I've got it. I only buy them as a last resort, and one of the reasons is things like this, because I just think that's poor manufacturing. You've got these bits here. So anyway, we've managed to open the valve. But a straw would not have done that. And even having opened it, it's still resisting. Okay, so at this point, as we're starting to get almost full, you want to just go very cautiously at this point, because it is easy to overinflate. Okay, you don't want to pop the balloon. So a way to test whether your balloon is correctly inflated, it wants to feel pretty full, but you should still have the creases here along the seed, and you should be able to just walk your fingers along the seed and the balloon bounces back. But you can see here we've got lots of messiness along the seam here, and we've got little bits hanging off here and here. And as I said, this is why I don't like using the Grabos, because I don't think they're as well made as some of the other balloons. But sometimes you don't have a choice if supplies are short, and that's the situation I'm in today. Next, we're going to be using the Anagram Baby Shark, 26 inches. As you get to this point, your balloon's starting to get full. Just be careful that you don't overinflate. So from here we go quite cautiously. Okay, so you want these little chambers for his fins and his tail to be inflated. But again, we do the test, just walking our fingers along the balloon. I think that can just go a little bit more, just a fraction more, I think. But I'm not going to go any more than that. And your fingers pop back. Okay, so he's quite cute. And next I'm inflating the anagram starfish, 17 inches. Again, as we're getting to this point, just proceed with some caution because you don't want to overinflate. And then just walking our fingers down the balloon and that's pinging back, but you've still got all these creases. And that's a double-sided happy face on the starfish, so he's very cute. You're going to need 8 11-inch balloons and inflate. So fully inflate and then downsize to 9 inches using a sizing box. If you haven't got a sizing box, you can put 2 chairs back to back. Just put a twist in that balloon. You can put 2 chairs back to back and measure a 9-inch gap between the backs of the chairs and use those as an ad hoc sizing box. So just round off slightly, then wrap the necks over one another, wrap around a couple of times, tie and make another one of those. Take your 2 duplets and wrap them together, okay? And make another one of those. Grab hold of one of the necks of your bottom cluster of 4 and just pull that up into the top cluster, okay? And you want to position these so that you've got one balloon here that is positioned in between the gap between these 2 balloons here. And then take that neck and just wrap it around that top cluster in a figure of 8 motion until you run out of neck and you can't do it anymore, okay? And then just check everything's still in position, yeah. So all the way around, we've got one balloon in between the gap for the 2 bottom balloons, okay? I'm using a large water weight, which I'm just pulling into the base, pulling through into the top layer, and then again, using the neck from that water weight just to wrap around that top layer of balloons in a figure of 8 motion, okay? And that's gonna weight everything really securely. Okay, so you've got your weight on the bottom there. If you're using a balloon number 2 from another manufacturer, it's likely that you will have a valve positioned here, which is great because that's going to make it a lot easier for you to attach your number 2 to your display. This Scrabo balloon doesn't have a number 2, and personally I think it's probably because it's deemed by the manufacturers as sort of an efficiency that they can, you know, use the same design for a number 2 as a number 5. Because if you put it this way, that's very clearly a number 5 as well. But from a user point of view, a customer point of view, it's not, as in me the customer, it's not that user friendly. So what I will do is I'm going to use these tabs here to create the attachment points that I need. So I'm just going to pinch hold of the tab here, the little attachment point, and I'm going to use a 160 just to wrap around that little tab. And when I've done that a few times, tie knot. Okay, and once you've tied once, tie a second time. Okay, so we've got our attachment point there. And we need to do the same on this side. So again, take a 160, and I've just snipped off the tip end. And I do that because if you leave the tip end on, you can sometimes find that whilst you're tying a knot in the 160, it can leave a little air bubble in there, which kind of weakens the knot and the connection. So I just snip off the tip. Okay, and once you've wrapped that 160 round a few times, just tie a knot. And once you've tied that, just tie a second time. Okay, so we've got both our attachment points here. So take your attachment points and just pull them into the base. Okay, and figure of 8 around. Okay, and take the other one. So take the other ones and do the same thing. Just wrap around. I've just got a little piece of 160 here that I'm going to wrap around the valve to create another attachment point. So I'm just wrapping that around. Tie that on. Tied once, tie a second time. Okay. I'm now going to just roll up and tidy up this rather long valve that we've got here for our baby shark. So I've got a 260 and I've cut off the tip end, and I'm just going to place it across the back here, and then I roll over the end. And then I just continue rolling. Okay. So just carry on rolling. And then when you get to about an inch or so from the side of the balloon, just take hold of that valve and pinch it in half. So just fold it in half and pinch it together like this, okay? So hold it there, and then take hold of the ends of your 260 and just pull together. Okay? And then once you've done that, just tie a second knot. Okay, and that just finishes off that valve there. So take the connection point that you've made at the bottom of the baby shark and take these two little connection points here and just tie the two together. They don't need to be tied really tightly. I want a little bit of wriggle room there. Next, I'm using a bit of 160 just to tie onto this little tab here. Tying a second time. And I'm just going to take the tip of our shark fin pinch it together and using a bit of yellow 160, just wrap around the end of that little thing and tie. And again, just tying a second time. Okay. And then we can take these two ends here and we can just tie these together. Don't worry that the shark is flopping around. And I'm going to do the same with the other ends of the 160 here. Okay. Next we're going to be making duplets. So just inflate with a couple of puffs of air. And these are going to be organically sized, so just let a little bit of air out and tie, and then trim off the nozzles. Just massage those to bring out the shine. Next, take a couple of duplets, just wrap them together, and then use that cluster of 4 just to wrap into the base here, just to start to firm up the connection points. I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm just going to pack this area with duplets. And I'm just going to add a few more duplets to the base here. I'm just going to add another few here. Now I've got some duplets sized between 11 inches, sized between about 7 inches and 4.5 inches. Okay, and I'm just going to attach these to the base to fill out the base. Just wrapping in 260 to attach and just tying that end in as well. I've got clusters of 3 and 4 5-inch rounds that I'm going to add. using these tails, pull into this cluster here. Now adding just a few more 5-inch rounds, just referencing the colours from the starfish and the baby shark, but without going for the really harsh colours of orange and yellow. I don't want to put too much of this in, but I do feel this area just needs something more, a little something more. And it's also a bit of a reference to a coral reef. I've got a small piece of 160. I'm just going to take hold of this little attachment point here and wrap the 160 around a few times just to create a little attachment point. And with these I always like to just tie it twice. Okay, and then I've just got a little cluster of differently sized balloons and I'm just going to wrap that in.